another thing that, you and I had talked prior to the show about, I was curious what trends you were seeing. And of course, you came back with a list of like all the trends, which was awesome. But maybe if I could pinpoint two of them in
Sure.
particular that I think that are really closely related, was you mentioned seeing the trend in the way that we organize information is actually changing. And then the idea of kind of recording knowledge in the flow of work. And I think those those seem to be related in my mind, but maybe talk a little bit more about those two trends.
Yeah, so just to give some context of what you're referring to. So I started a newsletter back in May called Smarter by Design, which basically argues that AEC firms should spend as much energy and time designing their businesses as they do buildings and infrastructure. Like that business is a design problem. And
Mm-hmm.
so this is kind of issue 6, which I guess by the time this podcast probably comes out, will be out, of Smarter by Design. It all came from a question that I got at the end of a webinar I ran about a month and a half ago, which was, how is the role of an AEC knowledge manager changing because of AI? Which spun off like a bunch of interviews and surveys that I ran within the AEC knowledge management community to say, like, really, like, how are AEC knowledge management teams changing to evolve and thrive in the era of AI? Like, that was the big picture question. So you picked two of the
Mm-hmm.
trends. So from an information architecture perspective, what I kind of have teased out, because like anytime something news like this happening, people will stake out kind of wild takes on either end of the spectrum, and it's fun to kind of like hear the wild takes and then figure out where things ends up being. So one argument that was being made was, look, AI is so smart that like it doesn't make any sense to put any effort into organizing information anymore. It just all goes in one big bucket and just AI is going to be able to find it. And on the other end of the spectrum, you had, we have people in our communities who have library science backgrounds or research backgrounds, and they're like, no, 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 no. In the era of AI, information architecture is even more important because that context and the metadata and the taxonomy and the structure, like AI can use all that to help find what it's looking for. And if you don't do that, AI is going to get confused and it's not going to understand what's more important than other things. And so it was like we had a call with like our research council, which is kind of our, some of the leading firms that we work with, and they, it was a really rigorous debate here. And I think the consensus view is it's both. Like at the very kind of top level of information architecture, level 1, level 2, level 3 in organization, that really matters. Not only because AI will use it as context, but because you still have humans working in your business, and
Mm.
humans will still browse, right? Humans will still navigate that way. But more than that, like your information architecture tells a story of who you are, what you value, what you put up at level 1 over level 2 actually says something, or
Mm.
are you organized by market sector, or are you organized by department or service? All of those decisions, like information architecture makes that explicit. And so as people, whether it's on your website or whether it's on your intranet, as they interact with it, they learn about what matters within the company. And so the thought was, you have a very kind of like top level structure. You still put a lot of intentionality into it, but lower levels than that, that's where AI can really shine. You're getting into the long tail of information at level 4, level 5, level 6. Maybe just let AI work on finding that out. So that's kind of where we got that. Information architecture is changing, but that it still is important.